Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so after a successful masking, painting, priming of the next section, the rear support arm, the fixed frame, the swivel arm, the trees, in fact, everything came out really well. The masking came out good. I'm very happy about that. Hinges were covered up very well. Removal of the mask came out very well. Maybe a little bit of an overspray on a few pieces, but overall, I think it came out well. And especially the part that I was a little bit more concerned about, the front support blade. Since I already assembled it, I wasn't too sure how well the prime and the paint, let alone the masking, would do. But it came out a little bit better than I thought. Granted, sure, it does still come apart. That's going to be normal, okay? But once I attach it onto the tank, the Leopard 2, I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. And it does give it a bit of rigidity. It does keep it into some certain form, some certain fixture. So I'm quite happy about that. The only small thing, and I kind of wish I saw this before I saw my build, is those snow cleats that are here. If I had known that this was on like a prototype or that's not found on the original tank itself, I would have removed those. So FYI, before you build your stud child, make sure that you remove those X's. And it's very easy to do. You could probably come by and add a bit of Plastistruct, just a small little area right there in between them to give it some sort of, an area where those guys would actually be formed. Anyways, everything came out well. The mobility of the hinges came out well as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the next section. Oops. On the next section, the Heckarm, that rear arm, the rear support arm. So we're going to go and get started on that. So we're going to go tear this thing apart, and let's go. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to break this up into, like I said, certain sections. So this is going to be part 6, section A. We're going to go ahead and start off with those cylinders. If we could get to section D on the instructions, as I kind of like laid out there with my own writings, my own notes, of step number 10. This is step 10 of the instruction sheet. We're going to go ahead and get started on section A. Section A. That's what I'm going to label this as. So with step 10, we're going to go ahead and remove the cylinders from the J tree. So let's go and get these guys cut out. And again, since I did the masking, I just need to paint a little bit with hand brush with the trees here. Just repaint a little bit. It's going to happen. That's going to happen for most modelers anyways. So make sure I get the right parts snipped off. And a little bit interesting, at least on this part here, I noticed that there was a hydraulic line on the real machine. There's some photographs on the real machine that shows this. I'll show that to you in stills if I can. I've seen it in my Tankograd book. And again, just doing a little trimming here, trimming out that sprue. And all you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is just to repaint that. That should not be a major issue for you. But you do want to control the seams a bit. Paint areas where This thing's going to be articulated, but make sure you have that mask. Make sure you have that mask on and removal of the mask. Again, the mask was that Vallejo liquid mask. Okay, so that's that part. We're going to go into the case sections. So for the case sections, I already took the liberty of attaching the U38 to one of the case sections. So that's good to go right now. That is this section right here. Okay, I labeled it as A. This one's going to be B. And then I'm going to put those guys together. Start with C and D and so on and so forth. So these are my own notes. It helps me know what the order is going to be needed for me to assemble. And part E and F, you know, those are right there in the middle. Okay, those are going to be the last parts that we're going to put together there. So K35, U38 have already been assembled. These guys right here, I've already put them together, already glued them down. Hopefully they're not, I hope there's not going to be any mistakes. So just need to trim those off. And again, using my nail clippers because it is a bit of a curved portion here. Going to use those clippers right there. Just snip that little pit off. And again, for this one, and this last one here. Using the contours of the nail clipper actually helps in those curved parts. And again, just a little bit of trim. So I'm going to do the same thing for K28, U37, and I'll put those guys together in just a moment. So I'm going to step back and finish that off. Okay, so I already cut out K28, U37. We're going to say that's the right-hand side, at least in perspective to the instructions, that's the left-hand side. And again, using that liquid mask, here is where, I'm going to go ahead and point it with the toothpick this time. Here is where the hinge is, one of the hinges. Use it a little closer for you, sorry for the hitting of the stand. Okay, so you have the major cylinder, this guy right here, the J13. It's going to be attached, looks like on the instructions, attached this way. And then the smaller piston is going to be attached over here. Actually, not the smaller piston, but the larger piston. No, it is the smaller piston. Okay, so anyways. So the point I want to make is once you get this thing arranged, looks like it's in this fashion. Nope, wait. Hang on for a second. Okay, I want to make sure I get the orientation correct. You know, like I said, I've never built something like this. Usually a ship and plane builder, so this is my first tank. So it looks like this piston then will go onto this guy here. Is that correct? Nope, nope, nope. It's this upper one. Okay, it goes in that one. And again, using the liquid mass, it kind of allows free movement, the articulation of that cylinder. So you can see over here on this side, where I'm going to be gluing the areas together, just where another, over here where my thumb is pointing to, the one thumb that's moving, my left thumb, is where one of the pistons is going to be going. So this cylinder has free movement. These areas here, those squared parts that are there, is where I'm going to be gluing it. So as you can see here, we have an area that's was masked on this part, right over here. Okay. And this one over here as well. I just didn't glue, I just removed the mask from there because I'm not going to glue it, but it's going to attach itself right there. And as you can see, the mask did a great job of, one, allowing freedom of movement of the cylinder, and two, allowing me to actually glue those pieces together nominally where the plastic's going to melt together with that cement. So from the U tree, I masked basically this entire tree except for a few parts over here and this one corner piece, which is going to be for that cantilever arm, which is going to be a little bit later. But here's U68 right here. Let's go and trim that guy off. And I did mask the entire piston because it will be painted. I just didn't want to overspray it with paint. Might have masked a few pieces here and there, not getting the whole thing. That's okay. We could probably scratch that off, remove it. You know what? Instead of using a knife, I'm going to use my sanding stick. So let me switch that over. My sanding sticks. And I'm using a medium grit, again, from Brokers Models. Brokers Hobbies, thank you very much. Always been a big supporter of you guys. And there you go. So this guy's going to go right inside here. Stand by. And very nicely done. I have not glued it. So here's that piston, U68, the smaller of the two. And here's that larger cylinder, J13. There were some pins that I did not mask. And I did mask. I don't think I need to mask these, but we'll see when we get to that area there. But I'm going to go ahead and glue those down and secure it. So I already clamped it down. I already glued those two squared areas. But again, just make sure, test fit, test fit, test fit. I almost got those two guys upside down. And I glued it, and the juxtaposition for the other half of that cylinder attachment was just not right. This guy right over here on this side, that little bracket there. And I'm pointing to, let me just flip it over. It's a little dark on dark. Okay, this guy was on the other side. So it was like over here on this side. So always take a look before you start gluing down, and then just position yourself to make sure you're in the right place. So everything looks good. Articulation's still there. No glue anywhere else. If anything, I might want to seal that joint right up here where I'm pointing to with the toothpick. Okay, I might want to come by and seal that a little bit with some crazy glue. So there's no articulation there, and everything looks fine. Okay, so we're going to move on to section A. So now we're going to go ahead and remove from the two F trees. This is a duplicate, two of them. Here's one, here's two. The point is, I'm going to go ahead and cut out F17. Now, I didn't paint any of these parts. Wasn't too sure if they're going to be articulated. Wasn't too sure if they're slided inside. So I already cut one out. We're going to go ahead and test it out on these two pieces to see where they go. And see if there's any articulation, if it slides up and down, what the case may be. Okay. And you don't want to use your hobby knife too much to remove spurs from the tree, especially on the painted part. Where's that one? I came by to just a little bit. That's not a major issue. I mean, you can hand paint that. That's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so let's see how this goes. How this is articulated, how it slides. I don't even know what it does, to be honest with you. So this is part C, part D. This is part C I'm going to work on. And I'll show you what the repercussions of that one are going to be. All right, so major dilemma, major problem here. As you can see on this part here, we have 3 holes. Okay, this one that's up here on the right, and these 2 over here on the left. So it looks like on the instructions, right here, section C, okay, I shouldn't say section, but this part C that I'm doing right now, this is a mirrored part. Okay, so there are 2 of these, one on one side, one on the other side. So I'm doing C part right now. And it shows to attach this guy onto here. Okay, and if I put those guys together, just test fit in it. Okay, take a look. It only goes this far. Goes in the downward section. If I put this together onto the clamp. It actually goes right here. Number one, I'm not sure if it's articulated. Let me just go and remove that clamp here. I'm not sure if it's articulated, but it goes right here. And this part goes, snaps in there. Okay, and there's no movement. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's glued down, if it's just a brace, or what the deal is. But the point is that if I have this in the down position, it doesn't go all the way up. Okay, and I'm not going to force it and snap it. But here's the problem. What's this other hole? The one at the very end. If I put that there, and I were to glue it down, which I'm not yet, okay, watch what happens. It doesn't go all the way down, but it does go all the way up. It does go all the way up. Okay, so again, is this an option? Are they giving you an option? It doesn't say so on the instructions. It doesn't say so on the instructions that this is optional. You know, put it on this hole, put it on that hole for this raised or lower position. I don't know. So now here comes the part. Okay, do I keep this on there? It's kind of like getting back to that front support blade. Remember that front support blade where I had that one part that I would attach here? I still have it. Take a look. Let me get my tweezers. I still have that one part where it would have been glued right over here. But if I glued that and I attached that, this thing would not move at all. It would be locked into position. And I didn't want to do that. So it's kind of like the same thing with that front support. Do I glue this down in one position or the other? I mean, yeah. I'm going to have to take a look. Okay, so we're going to stop for a moment. I'm going to cut out the other pieces, kind of see where they go. Unfortunately, I did not know that this piece right here, this pin I'm pointing to with the lighter toothpick, that this needed to be masked. Okay, so I got to take a look at that and see what else I need to do. Okay, so stand by. I'm going to come back. I'm going to let you know. Okay, so as I'm trying to figure out how this strut here goes, I was looking at my Tankelgrad book of the Leguan. Again, an excellent reference book. And it shows, over here on page 46, I think it's better if I show it to you in a picture, but this is the bracket right here. This is the one that's in question. Okay, hopefully you don't get the glare of the light there. That's that bracket. That's this guy right here, the one that I'm pointing to. It's not this one. It's not that one up there where the smoke grenades are. It's this guy down here. And it doesn't look too much to be articulated, but strangely, as I was panning through the other pages, when it looks like, and it's not too many photos of this, of the smoke grenade discharge system where the smoke grenades would be. But the point I want to make out, it's really not too well shown. I don't think that brace, which would be right where my fingertip is, actually does move. Here's another picture of it, page 48, of those two brackets. They're camouflaged, but this is them right there. And it doesn't look like they move. It's this upper structure that actually moves. So I think that's a brace. It is not articulated. And again, I'll show it to you in a picture. I'll take a quick snapshot. But it's weird. Why? Let me just take this off. Why have, two hole positions? I don't understand that, Hobby Boss. Why did you make this thing to two positions? Okay, and it does go down. You leave it like that, which would make sense if you want to, I guess, lower that smoke grenade swivel arm. It would be like up over here. I mean, on the instructions, it does tell you, it's kind of hard to see, it does tell you to put it onto the middle hole. Not the far end one, but the middle one. At least that's what I'm getting at from this one. And even on the other side, on the mirror image, on this section here, it tells you to attach it to that middle hole. So a little bit of a dilemma. I hope, Hobby Boss, why'd you do that? It's kind of confusing. And second of all, is it articulated? I don't know. Hobby Boss, here's one thing. If you're going to make some things articulated, my suggestion, just tell us, hey, don't glue this. Glue it here. Which they do show. It shows here, do not cement. Okay, for those piston and cylinder. Okay, got it. Don't glue it. Okay, I understand that. Okay, but what about this? It looks like it's movable. And for you to give us those two options, it is going to be a little confusing for those model builders. I mean, you can see it right here. Here's the middle hole, goes all the way down. It does not go all the way up because it's blocked right here. Okay, but if you put it at the end, okay, it doesn't go all the way down. Okay, but it does go all the way up. So, so it does go all the way up. So, I mean, you mentioned to put it there. All right, I'm going to put it there. But it's not articulated. It looks like it's a brace. Well, I sure hope so. I don't want to mess that up. But the only other, if you could call it minor, I did not add a mask onto this pin. So I have to scratch that off. Okay. So, okay, fine. I'll scratch it off and over there on the other side as well. I'll scratch this off. And hopefully hopefully it'll be okay. Okay, so that's going to be it for pretty much for section A. We're just going to attach those parts and add a couple more braces. This thing has a lot of braces. You think you had a lot of braces in your mouth, but this thing has a lot of braces to support that big giant ass bridge. That's almost going to be the length of this placard that I have here. So imagine this holding this thing up. A piece coming out this way. Okay, so that's going to be quite an engineering feat. I hope I don't break any parts. Okay, but that's why I'm doing this, for future reference, to give you guys a heads up. Reinforce this, 3D print this bracket because you're going to need it because it's a fragile piece. Okay, it could be. Okay, so we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and attach the other parts, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and attach K22, K21 to this, again, this F17. I did take the liberty of actually removing some of the paint on either side. Hopefully I didn't gouge this part out over here. I didn't know if it was going to glue, didn't know how that was going to fit. But I did put Model Magic, the liquid mask on those edges, or at least where the connections are going to meet. I just didn't do it all the way through. But it should be clean. It should be good to go. Let's go and attach that part. So here's that. Attach it right there in the middle. That's what it says to do. Okay. Lay it down. Hold still. You know what? Hang on. Let me do it this way. That's what I did with the other piece. I actually clamped it. Glue there, and glue right around there. And then get the other one, and then just slap them together. As soon as you put them down, just remove that clamp. Those locking tweezers, what a great device. I don't know what I did without those things. And I just get my clamps, clamp it there, clamp it on the other side, and there you go. Okay, so the other one's been clamped for a while. It's going to remove them. And seems to have done the trick. Okay, I didn't glue that piece. I'm still not too sure, but we're going to go ahead and attach it right over here, and then we'll just hand paint that bracket. Okay, that bracket right here. That's what I'm pointing to with my locking tweezers. We'll just paint that by hand. It looks like it's a support structure. I did kind of measure the angles with the piston that you see in the background here that I'm moving back and forth. There was a little bit of a difference, but I don't think it was that noticeable. So as soon as that one's glued down, we're going to go ahead and attach those and be done with Section A, Part 6 of the Heckarm. What a heck of a piece. All right, so a couple other things we're going to go ahead and attach. Again, this is very loosely put together. I haven't glued anything yet, but it looks good. That dilemma of this being articulated or not, I think it's solved because it's pretty much going to be locked into position. I don't think there's any movement of those brackets there that I'm calling brackets, these guys right here that I'm pointing to. Okay, get a little closer there. These two guys here on the other side. The piston's going to be next. So we're going to go ahead and attach that cylinder. This is J14. Should fit right there, but there's going to be a bit of an articulated brace from the U tree. We're going to go ahead and remove U33 and 34 to support that cylinder. So 34 is going to be on the right. Cylinder head looks like it has like a little bit of a two-piecer. It's got this very strange squared off back end. Showing on the instructions, I don't see that squared off back end. But it is going like in this sort of fashion. So we're going to go ahead and place one. Let's see. Kind of like this. Okay, and I did add the mask inside there, so that worked out pretty well. Sure goes right there, and then the same thing for the other side with U33. So that guy goes there. This guy goes here. So we'll get that arranged. And they're both mirror of each other, so I don't think it really matters what side goes where. But as far as attaching it, it attaches onto this part. Now, I've already had this piece as I was priming it, painting it, prepping it. It kind of broke off from the trees, so I just actually, just glued the bloody thing together. Although it's not glued, I haven't glued it down yet because I did get the pieces confused. But this here is your K16 and 17. So we're going to go and remove those extreme pieces. Those guys will be attached later on section C. But there's another part that I missed to paint, and I did label it. I forgot to paint it. So I actually have to paint these three pieces. Not this piston, but just the two brackets, and this guy looks like it goes over on top. Trying to give it a little bit of aesthetic look to it, so you don't have that big giant hole there. And it just fits on there. I would probably keep it flush with everything else. Just keep it flush. If you try to push all the way in, I don't think it'll go all the way in. So there are some holes where, some placement where it doesn't allow you to actually move. So you might have to scrape some paint off at the very edge right up here, and a little bit on the edges over there in the corners there. And it should fit there. I kept this part of the sprue tree on there so I can actually hand paint this. But it looks like I'm going to have to paint both in, well, I don't know, do I have to paint both inside and outside? It doesn't look like I have to paint the inside. So the inside doesn't need to be painted, just the outer portion needs to be painted. Okay, and then the cylinder, oh, it's going to be a little tight. Okay, so that was the thing I was fearing. I didn't cover up those holes for the cylinders, so we're gonna have to do a little drilling. And this guy is attached. Oh. So it looks like it's attached in this fashion here. I have to play with it. I'll be right back. Getting this cylinder on. Oh, damn. So major issue. Rats. It was bound to happen. I knew this was going to happen. Articulating these cylinders. Okay, I tried to get that piston into that smaller cylinder, that J14, and it wasn't going in, as you can see me as I'm trying to pull it apart. But as I was trying to push it in, obviously there's a lot of resistance pushing that in. So what did I do? I came by and I twisted, and as I'm twisting the piston, and the piston has broken off. Bummer, but kind of to be expected. Okay, the pins on here are quite fragile. I mean, I'm sure this one's going to break as well. It seems very loose. So I might, no, not might, I will drill this out. It'd be kind of hard for me to drill these. Probably have to pull this thing apart and secure it with a wire or some hardened sprue, something. This guy I can get on this joint here. I could probably get that one, drill it through here, remove that pin. But yeah, bummer. Okay, and that's what I get. You know, getting a little impatient. Not really impatient. I was trying to forcibly put that cylinder in. It wasn't going in. I should have shaved that piston down a little bit. Open up that hole a little bit. Whatever. It's just that I needed some resistance for this pin. Now, here's the thing. My other idea was to actually get this pin and the other one over there on that U sprue. This guy right here, actually making them into metal. I just don't know how. So if you're one of those people who can 3D print metal or get a metal press, okay, make that exact size of that piston, this guy as well, that's what I would recommend. Now, I do have plenty of wire. Hey, it looks like that one. Hey, how about that one? That one fit right in there. Okay, so there we go. So I have plenty of wire. I know the dimensions of this wire. Probably just cut a little bit. Slip it through here. I'm going to have to pull this apart. That's going to be a no-brainer. Pull that apart. Put that pin through right over here. Right in between those two. Be very careful that I don't snap off the bracket. Well, that's going to be expected. I knew that was going to happen. So we're going to stop right now. I was test fitting those brackets where the cylinder was going to go onto. It does attach there, but attaching it onto K16 and 17. Now, I did, fortunately I remembered, as I was trying to put that part in, I did remember to put liquid mask So the liquid mass, I'll tell you right now, I think that was a good play. That really helped me out. So I'm going to probably be doing that from now on. But I did not put it on this side. I'll have to scrape that off. Okay. And I'll probably have to do a very, very careful job removing the paint on the inside of that C brace. And the same thing over here in that dilemma piece. Just very carefully, just remove the paint on there. So we're going to stop right now. As I already mentioned to you, you know, those are the things in modeling. You learn from learn from your mistakes, and hopefully, whoever is going to do this build, you're going to see me doing this build. Hopefully, Rick's models. He unboxed his maybe a month before I unboxed mine and previewed mine. But I'm the one that's progressed this far. So Rick, just FYI, be careful attaching those pistons onto that Heckarm. Oh heck, I know why they call it a Heckarm, but that's okay. We'll manage. I think I'm an experienced enough modeler to not get discouraged, and I don't want you to get discouraged either. Don't get discouraged, ladies and gentlemen. Building models, to be honest with you, most of the fun is how patient are you? Are you patient? Do you want to get a good build? There are some great modelers that are out there. I think I'm one of them. That you know, they brush it aside. They move the model aside. I'll come back to that later, and that's fine. You could do that. My suggestion, which I did do one time, and I'll never do it again, which caused me to wreck my photo etch. You know, don't get angry. Don't get drunk. Don't drink too much. Some people come by and they get frustrated. They throw the kid across. They start drinking. They start doing something with their spouses, with their kids. Don't get frustrated. Be cool. The whole idea of this hobby is to relieve the tension from what you're doing outside of this hobby. And we'll get back to this. Just a slight discouragement, but to be expected. I kind of figured that was going to happen. And if I knew how to make metal parts and I actually stamp out a hole or drill out a hole, oh, I would have done that big time. I for sure would have done. And maybe Hobby Boss, hey, you know what? Those pistons, they should be silver. If you saw my photo, you could see the main piston that's going to go on this part. You'll see this big silver piston on there. I think that'd be a cool idea if you actually made it into metal and have metal pieces. Sure, it's going to jack up the price a little bit, but you know what? I think most of us modelers, granted, we like static models, but we like to articulate it, make it movable, challenge us. Maybe even give us it as an option. Do you want to keep it static or do you want it movable? That kind of thing. And why those 3 bloody holes on F-17? Why? I don't understand that. Okay. But anyways, we'll stop right there in section A, part 6. I believe it's part 6 of the rear support arm. And I'll get back to you and we'll try to attach section B. It should be pretty simple. It's just 3 sections. And then the next 2. Okay. So this end modus, talk to you later. Hopefully I'll get this thing finished up before the end of the month, which it seems, strangely enough, I'm posting this model at the end of the month. Okay. Ciao, man. And comment, please. Let me know what you do. So hello, everybody. Since the last time I spoke, we had a major break on one of the pistons that came by and snapped off. Was this guy right here, this little one right here. And unfortunately, as I was trying to install the cylinder, it was pretty, had a lot of resistance, had a lot of pushing that I need to do. And I said, you know what, it's going to break, it's going to snap. So I tried to twist it possibly in there, and as I was doing that, that piston here, the pin had broken off, as I mentioned. But today, success. I was able to actually reinstall that piston using some brass wire. Now this brass rod actually, I have available. I use it mostly for my ship builds when I'm building out the shafts. The shafts of propellers, that connection between the ship and the screw, the ship and the screw. Using this brass rod to connect the ship to the screw. That's the propeller for most of it, but it's actually called the screw. And as I was thinking about what am I going to use, I fit that through the hole of that piston that I'm playing around with right now, and it actually fit right in there really well. A little loose, but it did fit. So what I needed to do then was to drill out a couple of holes, and you could see one of them on that big piston there. You can see it. Let me try to bring it up here. Right there at that base of that cylinder is a brass rod that I was able to fit in there. And even though I'm moving the camera stand, it came out nice. I measured it out, drilled it out, and what I did was I came by and I used my, again, drill bits. These are just tools that modelers have. This is just one of two drill sets that I have. This one is a really small drill bit. I don't recall the size. It's small, although I do have a set of drills that I could probably index this from. It is quite tiny. It is very fragile. I think it's probably like a 0.018 inches. So it's really tiny that I use for making, drilling out holes on board my ship. Then once I did that pilot hole, I went up to the next, almost to the second to the last biggest drill bit that came with this set, and measured it out. Okay, just eyeballing it basically. Does this thing fit there? And I don't think that was the right one, but you get the idea. And I was able to, once I was able to drill out that pilot hole on all four of those hinges, it came out pretty well. And you can almost see it. Keep banging into this stand. You can almost see it right here, or I'm pointing to with my toothpick there. You can see some of it sticking out. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to take that as it is, and I have no issues. I'm a little concerned about the brace where that new hinge went through, because I'm just afraid of any lateral movement, that the base of the hinge might break off. So I might reinforce that. It might look a little weird using plastic struck, sheet plastic. But you know what? I think once I paint it, once I reinforce it, especially this guy that's down here, I think it'll be okay. I'm not too concerned. So, bottom line, I was able to attach it last night without you seeing. Sorry about that. It was kind of tricky, but you know what? With the experiences that I've had of making hinges for tank hatches, I said to myself, you know, I think it will work. The only thing I'll probably need to do still is drill out the hole in that cylinder where I'm pointing the tip of my finger, and the other one as well. I kind of drill it out with a knife, but I think I need to really get a dedicated drill bit to drill out that hole, so I don't have too much resistance as I was trying to install this in. As you can see, I'm still twisting it. Not a good idea, Mom. Not a good idea. Okay, but at least that part got figured out. So last night I put everything together. I haven't glued them, but I did manage to install the other pieces. For example, this guy wasn't glued on. This guy wasn't glued on. This guy right here is case 16 and 17 glued together. I was able to scrape off those C-clamps that you see along the edge there. Point it to you again. Those C-clamps, that section that's right here, that was probably part K24, 23, 22, 21 on the other side. Okay. Scrape off a bit of the paint so that way it slid in there pretty easily. This horizontal bracket can slide in there. And yeah, yahoo. I even scraped off some of the paint for the brace for the smaller cylinder, and that fits in there pretty well. So everything's moving along. It's moving along quite nicely. Just want to give you that update. Okay, so after the near debacle of our piston breaking off, this guy over here, and making pins out of brass rod, I came by and decided, you know what, that cylinder where that piston was supposed to go into has a couple of pins right where my fingers are. But instead of having these pins break off, I'm going to go ahead and shear off either side of those pins and replace it again with another brass rod. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you what I did. So very quickly, before I give it second thoughts, I'm going to just snip off that pin one side, other side. Okay, both sides have been cleared. I hope this works. Just trim off a little bit of the excess plastic that might be up in there. Okay, that's good. A little bit on the other side. And again, only for experienced modelers. So here's my small drill bit, 0.081, I believe I mentioned. I'm going to drill a pilot hole all the way through. So kind of hold that down, get it centered, and drill away. Now this pin is going to go all the way through that cylinder. So you're going to have to make sure that you keep yourself steady. Seems like it is hollow all the way through. I hope that's a good sign or not. I hope it doesn't interfere with that piston. And I'm drilling right where those pins that I just chopped off were located. Make sure it's at a good 90-degree angle. There it goes. Okay. All right. So both of them are through. Now I'm going to change that out. Change that small little drill bit. And I'm kind of curious what the next drill bit size was. So I'm going to get my index. And it looks like it's way bigger than 0.39. So I'm going to take a look to see what size that really is. It's not really numerated on these drills. Go insert that one. Make sure it's all centered. I don't see any wiggles. And let's go ahead and drill that one through. Now this one I'm going to go ahead and drill it all the way through. I can get my template. Funny. Didn't think these were any use, but here we go. I felt myself going through the first one. And again, it's a good idea if you're going to do this, drill that pilot hole first. Don't use that big drill bit and start drilling out holes. You'll make a big mistake and you'll be very frustrated at your end result. So I think I drilled all the way through, and yeah, that's all even. So that is evened out. It does look like it's in a 90-degree angle there. Go ahead, carefully pull that out. Okay, and I could see right through it. Looks really good. Get my pin. Insert my pin through. And again, I'm just kind of like blindly going through this, hoping that it works. I think it will. There goes between it on the other side. Okay, so there's your new pin. Okay, so after a little pushing and pulling and pushing, there it goes. New metal pin inside there. Now, the only thing I'm kind of worried about is that piston going to be interfered with that metal pin going perpendicular across that pin. So we're going to find out. Hopefully it's not going to obstruct it too much. The only other thing I need to worry about is making this bracket a little bit more sturdier. Not sure what the weight constraint is going to be on there, but there you go. Looks good, feels pretty firm. And we're going to go ahead and attach the rest of this. Section A. Wow, just section A. Okay, so I'm going to put this thing together. The glue is almost dried on the cylinder piston snafu, but that's taken care of. No worries. The only other thing I need to do is just touch up paint, and that should be secured. Okay. All right, y'all. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and proceed on to section B. We're still letting glue dry up on section A parts. So we're going to go ahead and skip down because we're running a bit behind. So let's go ahead and get this guy taken care of. This is going to be the upper fixed arm, the fixed frame, I believe it's called. It does have another piston that I have not inserted from section A, U69, so we're going to have to worry about that later. But I do want to point out that there is another pin that I might need to install. So we'll look into that right now. So we're going to go ahead and get U49 and J5. I already glued those guys together, so those guys should be set. They've already been primed and painted. Let's set this aside. Looks like this thing is going like so. Okay, so it's going to go like this. It's going to be the right-hand side. Here's the little hinge. There is a shaped piece. It's not a round pin. As you can see right there pointing at my finger, it's like a D. So that D goes onto this guy, it looks like. Let me go ahead and stop for a moment. So as I was getting ready to attach this, I just remembered, oh, I still have some liquid mask that I already removed, and getting ready to install that. All right, so looking at it, as you can see, these two pieces are not glued in yet. I don't think they come together like this. But the good news is that even though, where is it? Yeah, it's this guy. Even though the left-hand side of that fixed arm. Has a very, very delicate, very delicate pin. Okay, the one that I'm pointing at, let me point it with the blacking in. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and remove that because that one will definitely break off eventually. So another surgery, it's all right, that I'll do for this rear support arm, this Heckarm. All right, I'll be back. All right, wow. Whew, a lot of behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of behind the scenes. Stuff that I didn't show you. First of all, we got a fixed arm attached onto majority of section A. I do want to point out though that that brace that we mentioned about in a couple of videos before, I did not glue that down. As you can see here, this piston that's there, I made it movable. For what purpose, I'm not too sure, but it looks like it brings it down, brings that fixed arm down for it to actually be able to reload the smoke grenades. That's the only thing I can think of. And maybe even help out in lowering the bridge, getting it connected. The other piston that's here, I have not glued that on there yet. That's still drying up on glue-wise. It's so, unfortunately, I was not able to attach that. But it does seem to function pretty well. I've already dry fitted the other piston. It's drying right now. With this silver. Where did I get that? Well, crazy, being a former teacher, I have these guys, these Sharpies. This is a silver Sharpie that I use for my classes, and that's what I use to paint those pistons. And I think it came out pretty darn good. I think it looks pretty sharp. It gives it that that glazed, greased look to that piston inside that cylinder. Gives it a bit of a shine as well, showing that it's actually being maintained. So, you know, it came out really cool. The other piston as well, that I'll attach as soon as this thing dries up, should be ready. I just painted the whole bloody thing. Just uncap it, just painted it down. Using paint, using spray might not be a good idea, but here's the other thing that I did do. How was I going to make that piston go in there? Because that piston is really tough to get inside those cylinders, as you can see with this toothpick demonstration. It's very difficult for it to get in there. Now, I came by right now. What I did was I actually was able to, not to drill. I didn't drill it. Actually, I filed it. How did I do that? Well, I came by with my file. On the other end, where it grips inside, is this cylindrical looking piece. And that's what I used. And it was a perfect fit. I was just like totally blown away. And it's not just this file, but I had several others inside there. So I just put the file portion in there, and I just used it as a drill. I gripped it, and I just filed it on in there. And I would dig it out, get some of that plastic out, and that actually worked. It worked for the other piston, the smaller one. And it worked so well, I said, well, what the hell? I might as well do them both. And I'm quite pleased. Now, I might notch this because I think it might actually be needed to actually support that bridge that's going to come out this way, in this direction. And it's a large piece. I mean, it's literally like almost about as large as this white plastic card here. So that's what I did. Whoops, hang on there. Don't lose it. Okay, that's what I did for section A and B. Section B is almost done. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video because there's still a bit more that I need to do. I need to do section C and D, but the video is pretty long. And I'm going to go ahead and end up the video by attaching the piston, the large piston, onto that fixed arm, that fixed frame. Okay, so that's what I did for part 6 of this Heckarm. As far as this part here, I'm still looking into that, but the pins, those brass pins, oh, here we go. That's what I was looking for. It was just this. This is what I use for my shafts, for my ships. It's a 1.2 millimeter diameter rod, brass rod, 3/64 brass rod. I don't know what the decimal point is. It's probably something related to the drill bit that I used, a bigger drill bit from this guy. It fitted in there perfectly, no issues. So, yahoo, everything's falling into place. Quite excited. All I need to do is just paint it up, add some other brackets to cover up the holes here to give it some support. And that will be halfway done of this Heckarm. Okay. So after much work for the past Thanksgiving Day, I could say that the Heckarm came out pretty well. I'm supporting it right now with my locking tweezers just to make sure it doesn't tip over, give it some time for it to adjust itself. Let me give it some light over here. And yeah, it came out quite nice. The masking, the pins, the overall color, I think came out really nice. So this is just the first 2 parts, as I mentioned to you. Just the first 2 sections, section A, section B, section A up there on top, section B right down below. The next 2, section C and D, those I'm going to get to hopefully sometime this week. No promises, but overall, I'm quite pleased as far as, whoops, I can't really bend it too much, because these hinges that are down there, I'm not sure if they're glued or if they're movable. Again, that's probably the only thing the hobby boss might want to mention, where to glue. It says that it's glued, but how it's done, where it's done, I'm not too sure. But I like the pin effect. As you can see right here, let me see if I can focus in on that. It's actually right there. Maybe too close. That's about what this problem is. I'm just too close to it. There we go. Try to focus in on that. I'm pretty pleased with the pins and the color that it came in. Both the bottom down there, right over here. I'm going to show it to you with my file right over here. I can't really see it that well. How about my toothpick? Okay, right over here. And above. It's all blurry. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Oops. Already knocked it over a little bit. Right up here. I mean, overall, it came out pretty nice. There we go. There. Now it's just focused. Now you're out of focus. Which one is it? You're in focus, you're out of focus. There we go. Right over here. Right where that pointer is. Anyways, I'll try to show it to you in stills. The color of the pistons came out nice with that Sharpie, I think. It gives it that crazy sheen of actually workable metal. So yahoo. The only problem is those brackets down there. I'll probably have to notch it. We'll see. But I do think that they provide some sort of support as this thing's being transported in the transport mode. That's what they call it, the transport mode. Other than that, other than repainting some of the pieces, where I cut it away from the tree, from the sprue tree. Again, I think very successful. Anyways, this just concludes just step 10, part of step 10 of your 135th German Leopard 2 AVLB, your Leguan. We're going to try to get to the other parts as soon as we can. All right, so hopefully you'll like this video. Please comment, subscribe, share, like, and tell me what you think. Using those pins, what would you do? How would you do it? Masking, color, the whole spiel. Let me know. Talk to you later. Bis dann, Mannes.